Hey everyone, Chris McLean back again, and I'm on the line today with Marcus Toler, father, DJ, and marketer. He helps local businesses get more customers on demand with automated systems. He's an accomplished lead marketing campaigner with 20 years of experience, and he's here to help coach you how to expand client and revenue growth. Marcus, thanks for dropping by, mate. Good to have you here.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So take us through. You've got a lot of stuff in your toolkit there, right? You can help people whether they need a DJ, whether they need some marketing, they need parenting advice. Yeah. Take us through you and what you do, and I know you got a bunch of stuff going on. So tell us what you do.
Yep, it's funny you say DJ. I just did a last-minute little birthday party yesterday on a Saturday out of nowhere, so that was kind of refreshing with COVID.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So for me, back in around 2005, I started an entertainment company. I was in my 20s. Really, just I like to have a good time, and I like to go out and party. And one day I woke up with a hangover, and I'd spent a bunch of money at the bar, and I was like, you know what? I can just get paid to throw parties. I don't need to spend money at the bar. And this is MySpace days.
Yeah, right.
Facebook wasn't around yet. And MySpace was really booming, and I seen promoters and I seen photographers and DJs and all these people popping up on MySpace, and I was like, something's going on. I think I can do it, and I'd always been entrepreneur type from a kid. I was the guy that was selling something at school in the hallway every day, so it was just one of those things. Started out as a fun thing. I'm working with a lot of interns this year, and I tell them, I was like, all this started out as fun, and I wish I would have took it serious back when it was just fun. Looking back on it, and around 2006, some college kids came to me here in Virginia, and they were like, "Hey, we heard you're a promoter," and I was like, "Well, whatever." When at that point, I really wasn't doing too much, and I figured out real quick, being the guy that was responsible to get all the people to the party wasn't as fun as it sounded. I remember the first flop where nobody showed up, and I was like, wait a minute, this is not as fun as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of transitioned to the DJ, but I had that business mindset of, I want people to show up because the business makes money. I know they'll keep me around. But going back to the college kids, they showed up. They introduced me to beer pong. I didn't even know what it was. I'm embarrassed to even admit that I don't know what it was. And they were on their way out of college, so they really just wanted to have fun. They were like, hey, man, we want to bring it to the bar. And around that time, Texas Hold'em poker was like huge. The World Series of Poker was booming. It was all over TV. We were playing poker at bars 7 nights a week. I'm sure you remember. Everybody does.
Yeah. Peaked at that point.
Yeah, there's still those bars that do poker.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there, for like 2-3 hours, and I think I'm down to like the final table, and I get beat by somebody with a pair of twos. The good old donk is what we call them. Got donked out. And I looked at my friends and I was like, man, this is not fun. What are we doing? And beer pong was booming a little bit. They had just put the foldable tables at Spencer's, and they had a World Series of beer pong in Vegas too.
Really?
It just wasn't as big of a deal, obviously, because they were giving away 50,000 instead of $1 million. But to some college kids, 50,000 to go to Vegas to throw a ball in a cup, that's pretty exciting, right?
Good money.
And it just clicked, man. I was like, you know what? Hell with this poker thing. Why don't we just knock poker out and bring beer pong to the bar, like full steam ahead? Do beer pong tournaments, give away cash prizes, throw a DJ in there, and just turn it into just a party. And the college kids were like, man, we're about to graduate. This sounds like fun, but like we're about to move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they let it go. I did take it, and I started a beer pong event company called VA Bar Pong. And little town here in Fredericksburg in Virginia, there's probably only 5, 6, 7 bars. I remember at one point I had 7 nights a week going. And then we burned it out in this little town. I took it to Northern Virginia. I took it to Richmond, all the big cities in Virginia. And along the way, some wedding people came to me, like one of my wedding mentors. She was like, man, you're full of energy. You're the young DJ. You should become a wedding DJ. And I was like, man, I don't want to do weddings. Weddings are boring. And it was around that time, like looking back on it now, I started to understand the branding and the marketing and how things worked. And I told her, I was like, Dee, I don't want to DJ like your aunt's third wedding. It's going to be boring. You know what I mean? She's like, well, just target the people you want. And I'm like, well, what do you mean target the people I want? She's like, well, the way you brand yourself is what you'll attract. And I was just like, okay. And now it makes perfect sense. Back then it didn't.
Yeah.
She was like, I couldn't refer you a bride to your UpsideDown Entertainment or your VA bar Pong. That's not a good reference. They're going to be like, nah, this dude's not professional.
Yeah.
So I had to create another company, Big Day Productions. So that was born. So now I'm sitting on like 3-4 different brands, and I'm like, man, this is a lot, but it was needed, So fast forward, I burnt the bar scene up DJing. I DJ'd with some celebrities. I DJ'd with DJ Cool. I DJ'd with Pusher T, a bunch of hip hop. I was always in the hip hop scene.
Yeah, cool.
And I got my daughter about 5 years ago, full time. And I remember that first morning of her going, hey, I need a ride to school. And I just got home like 3-4 hours before. And being a single full-time dad, it just wasn't. I was like, wait a minute, this rock star thing has got to go. It's not going to work out.
Yeah.
It's just not lining up, So my friends were like, dude, just go out and get some bedroom DJs that are just starting out. They would love to have a chance to play and do the things you're doing. Just show them. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to. So that's where it first started turning into a business. I hired a bunch of DJs, bought 20 beer pong tables. I still got them stacked up in my garage. And, it got old though, when you get older, that whole party scene is not fun. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
So I started shifting out of it because of my daughter more than anything. I needed to be there. And that's when I was like, you know what? I did all this from social media. I was running Facebook ads when you could spend $10 to boost a personal post.
Yeah.
It was like before they even had an ad.
The Wild West days.
Yeah. The Wild Wild West days. Anybody could do anything, right?
Yeah.
And, I taught myself graphic design, web design, all that stuff. And I remember I was like, you know what? About 5 years ago, I was like, you know what? Let's start a marketing company. I've pretty much been doing a marketing company the whole time.
Yeah.
Just for myself instead of other
you
people.
built the skill set.
Right. So, that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to start helping local business owners. Obviously, the restaurants were the first genre, the first place I ended up at because I was already plugged into numerous venues.
Yeah, you had the network already.
Yep. I used to run Pizza Hut, so I was into management. So, I mean, I've essentially went from running restaurants to babysitting drunk people at restaurants is what I do best. And I was like, man, I got to get out of the restaurant scene. So that's where it was like, I started working with other types of businesses. And thank God, because COVID swooped in.
Yeah. That would have impacted beer pong a bit.
Yeah, I lost all my entertainment money. You know what I mean? All the restaurants that I was marketing for, they were like, hey, we don't know what we're doing. We obviously can't afford marketing.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. But luckily, I had been reaching out to a yoga studio. And right before COVID, literally 2 weeks before, I picked up that client. And that kind of shifted direction because I was using a lot of, automation, chat bots. I was real big into the Manny chat and the chat bots, and we were doing giveaways and the coupons and all that with the chat bots. And I was like, this will work with any type of business. But everybody kept telling me, oh, it's easy to do it with restaurants. You know what I mean? And they were challenging me pretty much. And I was like, nah, man, we can do this with anything. And when I took that same approach to the fitness market and it killed it, I knew. I was like, all right, the method's going to work. It's just about the product and the offer. I invested in a business coach over COVID by a dude named Mike Barron, 2 Comma Club, the whole nine. Used to work for Grant Cardone, expert sales, and that's really always been my downside is the sales part. I'm the guy.
I think it is for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably everybody's number one pain point that we can all agree on, right? Is sales.
Yeah.
And he was breeding salespeople. He's got a closer academy that he's got going where he's just bringing people in and teaching them sales. So, you know, I snatched up a few of his commission only salespeople, but it was painful, man. It was real painful. Cold calling, cold emailing, doing all this stuff. You know, we know how it is being in a space. The gurus make it look so easy and make it sound like just follow this blueprint, you're going to kill it. You're going to make $1 million. It's never the case. Never the case. You know, and I mean, I probably did 40, 50,000 over COVID, you know, messing around with the fitness stuff. But I still go back to the roots, which is the local business owners, you know, the brick and mortars, the small guys, the little people. It's not as rewarding as we know working with local business owners, but it just feels better. You know what I mean? It just feels good.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe they'd be bouncing back a bit more now. Yeah.
Yeah, they're coming back. So, you know, my girlfriend had this little project called Hometown FXBG that was just kind of chilling on the back burner. And I was like, babe, what are you doing with this? And she was like, oh, it's just for fun. And I was like, no, let me take that. So I kind of just grabbed it, and across some of my marketing training, I'm in a couple of different programs. Offline Sharks is one of them. They're a real big influence. They've taught me a lot. And then there's a dude named Jason Bell that does a lot of local marketing. And that's their whole MO is like local marketing, teaching marketing agencies how to help local business owners.
Cool.
And it all started playing together with the Hometown FXBG it's like, hey, there's an opportunity here to create that local community resource to be able to help spread awareness about local businesses. But not only that, as a marketing agency, if I call you and go, hey, Chris, it's Mark from Hometown FXBG. Love your business, dude. I'd love to spotlight you. You know, you can't really say no to that. But if I call you and I'm like, hey, it's Mark from 360 Marketing, you're automatically on your guard. Your guard's up. You're like, what's this dude trying to sell me, right?
Yeah.
And now
it's all the positioning.
It's all about how we position things. And the way I'm really leveraging it is we're doing a little directory, but we're going back into some old school guerrilla marketing tactics with the mailer. We're doing a mailer. It's going to be a postcard, 8.5 by 11. It's going to have 14 to 16 promotions on it from local companies, kind of like your Clipper magazine, your value pack, except for this is a one sheeter and it's going to be seen. Whereas, you know, I've got the value pack sitting on the counter now, and I call myself getting them and hold them to see who's advertising, but I hardly ever open them up. You know what I mean? So it just made perfect sense, and it's way more affordable. So that's kind of really my biggest project that I'm working on right now, is being able to give these local business owners in my area. And really it's the testing ground. This can work anywhere. So I definitely got plans to expand it, you know, everywhere. But it's to give those local business owners an avenue to get their stuff out there, because local business owners, they don't know anything about this digital stuff for the most part. But
it's all very new still.
Yeah, they do know old school, like radio, print, the newspaper. They know all that, and they trust it because they can see it, they can feel it. It's easy to digest. So that was
it's got that tangibility still.
It's tangible. But my biggest thing was like, how do I get my fix for the digital stuff and combine it with the old school stuff? So, I mean, I'm no stranger to the guerrilla marketing. Back in the day, I mean, I tell people all the time when I was doing the beer pong thing, social media wasn't that big of an asset. So, you know, we'd print 5,000 club flyers and go tag the whole town up. You know, I remember going in Walmart and putting flyers in beer cases and, you know, just going all out to get the word out. But I learned even back then it was a numbers game. 5,000 people, I'd get 100 people, you know. So it's all about how many people can we reach. These mailers, it's like I've been telling the small business, I'm like, dude, it's 10,000 houses we're going to hit with these. You're going to get your money back. You're going to make money. But yeah, man, I mean, that's pretty much been the journey. Just pushing. COVID is definitely interesting, but COVID really, for me, COVID was a blessing because it was like I was trying to get out of the bar scene. I didn't really want to keep doing that. I was over it. It was kind of like to the point where I was just like, man, what am I going to do? And then COVID hit, and it was like opened up a whole new door, because now it's like I've got clients in Florida. I've got clients. I had a coaching client down in Spain. You know, because Mike taught me how to be the coach and the consultant. He was like, man, you don't got to bend over backwards. Teach people how to do it themselves. You know, they're going to get more value. You're going to get more value out of it, and you're not going to be held responsible, you know? And I started working with a lot of interns this year because, you know, the whole online marketing scene has always been, oh, get you a virtual assistant from the Philippines or something. And I'm not bashing them. They're definitely great assets if you can find the right one and you can get that communication going. But there was a huge communication barrier. There was a huge, like, just disconnect all across the board. So one day it clicked. I was like, man, we can work with interns all over the world right now. I'm like, I'm just going to get as many interns as I can. It's going to give them, my whole mission with that is, I'm like, they need to know that they don't have to go work at, you know, Microsoft to make it. You know, they can go to school and get that skill set and go be a freelancer or start their own company. Yeah. You know, and that's the biggest thing when I interview them. I interviewed over 300 of them this past year. Yeah. And the number one thing that I got from all of them was, we need real world experience. Yeah. We need something that's got a heartbeat. You know, it's one thing to build a website at school, but if it ain't attached to anything, they don't know what it's going to do or not. You know,
if it doesn't have a client behind it in a real world case study that they can reference and get that client interface, right, and have that perspective of dealing with another human being and, you know, taking a brief down and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that's been really good. I mean, it's been like taking on a job, you know what I mean? I'm their teacher, I'm their coach, I'm their mentor. You know, some of them are doing it for grades, so I got to grade them and turn in a grade.
Yeah, right.
And hold them accountable, you know, and it's been really interesting. And I kind of freestyled it like I do everything else until I figure it out.
I love the approach, man. I love you taking foundational principles and just throwing them against new opportunities.
Just throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. You know, it's always been pretty much my MO. My friends are always mad. They're like, man, every time I talk to you, you got a different thing going. I was like, well, it all goes back to the same thing, though. Marketing is marketing. I can market you. I can market him. It doesn't really matter. You know, it's just being able to understand how to make it work. You know what I mean? And sometimes you just got to throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. So.
Yeah, but if you're coming from that first principles, right, you're coming from a foundational truth about finding somebody that has a need and fulfilling and satisfying that need for a good value. That's marketing, right? That's the foundational principles of marketing. If you can get that right.
It's like I tell the kids, I was like, you know, there's one thing that all business owners have in common. And they're like, what's that? And I was like, we all want to make more money. I was like, I've never met a business owner, even the ones that are blowing me off that don't want to deal with me, they're still not going to tell me they don't want to make more money. You know what I mean? I mean, listen to Warren Buffett, listen to Amazon, listen to Zuckerberg, all of them. I've never, ever seen an interview where they're like, yeah, I got enough money, I'm good.
You know I'm going to stop now. Yeah.
So I learned a long time ago. It's like, if we can solve the problem that brings more money, then we're always valuable. You know what I mean? And now I'm learning, the bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. So it's like, I worked with a yoga studio down in Tampa. She, you know, most people don't know. Like, let me ask you, see how close you come. What do you think it costs to get certified to be a yoga teacher? This rough number.
10 grand?
Nah, it's a little high, but I'm sure there are classes. $4,500 is what my client in Tampa charges, right? And I would have never knew. You know, and she came to me to help her promote her teacher training. You know, $5,000 paycheck for way less work than I do normally for my clients.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's when it started clicking. I was like, high ticket, higher, the bigger the problem, the more value that it's worth. I mean, essentially, she paid me what it cost one student. You know what I mean? So it was like, whereas if it would have been a normal restaurant client, they would have had a heart attack about I said $5,000.
As long as you're solving a problem that's more expensive or perceived as more expensive than the price that you're charging, then that's value, right? That's the value exchange.
The customer, you know, the customer value at the end of the day, it's like, you think restaurants, I try to educate the business owners of, it's not how much they're going to spend today, but what's the lifetime value. And most business owners don't know their lifetime value of their customer.
That's a critical metric.
And me working for corporate Pizza Hut for a while, like I learned a lot of these foundations early on. And it was always, even back then, it was guest check average. They weren't talking about how much is a customer worth over the next year. Because you think about it, how many times do you go to the restaurant, like your favorite restaurant? In a normal situation without COVID, you're going to go there 2-3 times a month. You know what I mean? And you probably got multiple places that you visit a couple times a month.
Yeah.
So now you take that over the whole span of the year. Me sending you 30 new customers this month, now it's a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to understand that repeat business side. And it's not just I'm selling them one time. What's the repeat? And once you get them into the business, where can you upsell, add a salad, add some breadsticks? Right?
Exactly.
Add a dessert in there.
Yeah, it's like John Taffer, the bar rescue guy. I like his stuff a lot. I remember watching an episode one time where he was like, you got to be able to treat those first-time customers like VIP, because if you can wine and dine them the first couple of times, they'll be a VIP from there. They'll be a lifer. So he breaks it down like first 3 visits are the most crucial ones. And he says the way he trains people he works with, he'll put like a red handkerchief in a cup or something, just something to label that table as, hey, this is a new customer. Everybody needs to spend some time when you walk by, say something to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's those little things like that. But that's the thing about marketing. I tell the interns, it's like, we can't control what the business owner does when we're not there. So that's where the coaching comes into play, because you might have a restaurant and I might send you a flood of new customers, but your bathroom is filthy and I can't control that.
Yeah, exactly. Or your food sucks. The product's no good.
The hostess was rude. You know what I mean? Now, next thing you know, you're getting bad Yelp reviews and you're blaming me. Mark, you sent all these new customers to me and now I'm getting all these reviews. Yeah. So, I mean, that was the biggest thing. It's like, you can't control it, So, nah, man, it's a journey though. I love it though. I love it.
Yeah, no, I could tell, man. You love that process. You've gone through different iterations of the same foundational principles, and I think that's what it's all about. If you can understand the foundations and you can understand the truth and essentially the underlying biology of what marketing is and what sales is, you can make that work anywhere. And you prove to that pudding, man.
You know what I learned over the last 5 years? Probably it's the money's in the list. If we can build our clients' customer databases, which, believe it or not, like 80% of the people I talk to, they don't even know if they have one or not. You know what I mean?
Which is flabbergasting in 2021, isn't it?
It is. And they're still new to it. And I'm like, well, your POS over there has been keeping all your customers. You got a database. What are you doing with it? Oh, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? So we do.
It's crazy.
Especially with fitness clients, we do what we call database reactivation. I'm sure you've heard of that term. Where we'll take that database and revive it, because these systems, these CRMs like MindBody and all these different, Zillow, all these different software, these platforms that businesses are paying for, they're setting on a list and they don't even really realize what it is.
Yeah, not leveraging it to build, like I said, build that customer lifetime value, right? Get them backing, give them 50% off. They come and spend 50% one time, but then they're back in the system. They're back engaged again.
Well, it's setting up all those automations in the background that they don't really realize, because, Zillow, MindBody, all these systems, they'll set like the first tier up for you. It's automatic. But it's up to you to go in there and build the value ladder out. And that wasn't something new for me. I'd always heard about funnels and all that good stuff, but I never really understood it. But then when I started working with Mike and I really went through that value ladder, that's when it was like, oh, this makes sense now, because if you think about it, the value ladder, the magnet, that lead magnet has always been there in front of us, I don't know about you, but I've been on Netflix since they were giving out DVDs. They got me on their trial run way back then, We go to, you look at Gold's Gym, you look at Planet Fitness, you look at Amazon, Hulu, all these companies that we pay got us on a lead magnet,
Yeah,
And
got you on a free trial, got you on a 30-day free sign up, got you on a 15-day trial.
The value up front, and there's all kinds of psychology behind it. You know what I mean? It's like I was just joking with my daughter and my girlfriend about Planet Fitness. I'm like, every time I see it come out of my bank, I think I need to go to the gym, but I still don't go and I still don't cancel because the value.
Yeah.
I know it's me.
Yeah. It's that perceived value that when I do want to go to the gym, it's there.
I said, look, if I go in there once a week and get the little hydro massage bed thing, it's worth $20 a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, fundamental stuff, man. I really appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, man.
It's just basic stuff that we as marketers really need to understand, is get the foundational principles and then stack that against the market that you're going after, and good stuff comes out the back end. And I think another point to close the show out, they said there's always a way you can help. And so you don't assume that somebody's doing everything. Don't assume that every business is doing just basic email list follow-up, right? It's easy to assume because we know everything that everybody's already doing everything.
Right.
So it's important to recognize that there's always opportunity to step in and help people do basic, foundational, fundamental stuff that you know how to do that they just might not be doing because they're not aware of it.
And I tell you, the perfect thing with that is the sales process of the fact finding. You know what I mean? If we take the time, like I like to talk, I get excited about processes and all that. And I have to stop myself and go, hey, Mark, no, stop and listen and see what the problem is. Don't assume. And you hit it right when you said that. It's like we can't assume we know, because we don't know anything until we have that fact finding session and we figure out what's going on. But as marketers, we got to know the right questions to ask to figure out those things. So you definitely 100%. That's the biggest thing, is like get better at fact finding so we can figure out better solutions.
Yeah. Love it, man. Love it. If people want to find out more about you, if they want to connect with you, if they need a DJ for whatever they're doing, there's a few things up on screen, and I'll link these in the show notes, but where's the best place for people to connect with you?
I mean, that marcustoler.info is pretty good. I got everything over there pretty much. I've started building everything out over there on my personal one. That's definitely the direct line. If anybody wants to reach out, I'm always down to politic and, collab with other marketers, with people that need help. Hey, whatever, the more the merrier.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thanks for dropping by and spending some time here on the show. Super, super valuable stuff. I'm sure the folks listening at home will get a lot out of it. So I appreciate you swinging by. Glad we got to have this conversation. I'll let you get on to where you're getting on, get off the side of the road and carry on with your evening.
Hey, no doubt, man. Thanks for having me. I look forward to seeing the replay, and I look forward to connecting with you some more.
Pleasure, man. Me too. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.